Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtam Shaktim cha Tatputra Parasharancha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathas Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadancha Hastamalakancha Shishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakaryamanyanasmadgurun Santatamanatosmi Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. So now we'll do this, part of the Gita. We'll read chapter 13 from verse 8 onwards. Amanitvam adambhitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham stairyam vinigraha. Okay. Indriyarteshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darshanam asakteranabhishvangaha putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu mai chananya yogena Bhakteravyabicharini viviktadesha sevitvam aratirjana samsadi adhyatma jnana nityatvam tattvajnanartha darshanam etad jnanamiti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. Yes, okay. So before I'll come back to y'all, stop the share. Okay. So last time we looked at the value of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. They're sounding like Greek. So we saw that this is repeatedly seeing the defects inherent in the different stages of life that this body is going to go through. And the idea is to lighten the Deha Abhimana. Deha Abhimana means identification with the body. So when we repeatedly see the defects of each of the stages that the body goes through, then we may not have so much interest in being identified, with the body, because body can take up a lot of our time. So then what happens if there is a certain degree of detachment towards the body, then we have more time and energy which can be properly used in the pursuit of this knowledge. Then we looked at the value of asakti. Right? So asakti we looked at as the absence of attachment, or vairagyam. Really, that oil is disturbing my throat. Towards the necessities of life. So we were looking at this last time, that it is wise to keep our needs as low as possible so that we can keep a check on our necessities, because there is a tendency in us humans that when we get a little bit of pleasure from or happiness or sense of security from them, then we tend to get attached to it. So we were advised that don't establish a sense of ownership with them. So either have a relationship with them of someone who is using them without having ownership. Remember last time we saw that if we go as a guest to somebody's house, we use the things. Not that we don't use them, but we don't have the sense of ownership. The other idea which was introduced is recognize that the real owner of everything here is Ishvara. And so we are just a trustee for Ishvara's property. And then because we use, Ishvara's property, we have the responsibility as a trustee to take care of that property. Now we have the 4 questions of Asakti, which we didn't do last time. So by following this Asakti, what do I gain? Right? I need to get out of the PowerPoint, so that I can write. Okay. So what will I gain when I get, when I follow Asakti? Yes.
Get rid of notion of mindness.
Okay. Get rid of ownership. Which means we get a certain amount of objectivity. What does objectivity mean? Anybody?
To see the things as they are.
Exactly. Yeah, to see things as they are. Okay. Then what else will I get? What will I gain?
Attitude of gratitude. Attitude of gratitude towards God.
Okay. Gratitude to Ishvara. Anybody else?
More time for spiritual.
Yes. Okay. Time for focusing on Vedanta or spiritual sadhana. Eh? Focusing on sadhana. Okay. Will I be peaceful or not? Fairly peaceful with reference to these. Yeah? So I may gain some peace. Then, will I gain some strength? Strength of mind with reference to them. कि वो खत्म हो गई. I'm using my washing machine. Washing machine खराब हो गई तो मैं रोने लगूंगी. No, I'm objective, no? So I will go and I will ring up the repair fellow and tell him that this has to be repaired. Okay? So we can say a certain type of strength, inner strength, it develops also inner strength. You don't get so, het up over things. Eh? What do I lose by following Asakti? I will lose my raga towards, or maybe even my dvesha. Raga, dvesha will always go together. Right? So I gave you one. What else will I lose?
I lose my false pride.
My false pride. Very good. Areva. What else will I lose?
I lose worldly pleasures. Worldly comfort.
No. I never told you to not use the comfort. If it is hot, I'll go and put on my AC. ये कभी नहीं बोला कि don't use it. I said use it, but don't develop ownership towards it. Very different. उसके लिए याद है वो एग्जाम्पल दिया था कि मैं कोमल के घर गई कोमल तो है नहीं. So I am very cool. I went there, I switched on the AC, it was hot. I went to the fridge and helped myself to some juice which was there.
Right.
So I have no sense of ownership there, no? I'm using. So you can use, okay? This worldly pressure, don't, Vedanta doesn't have much this thing. It says don't get hooked up on it. Vedanta की एक ही वस्तु है, don't get hooked up. Very important, no? There's a very subtle difference between them. I will lose my dependence.
Self-conceit.
Can't hear.
I lose my self-conceit.
Let me see my volume. My volume was down, you know, that's why I can't hear.
I lose my self-conceit. अपने आप को जो धोखा देने की बात है.
आपने बोला ना, was false pride. It's not the same thing, is it?
Right.
Right? I will give you one. I will lose my dependence. Being very dependent. कि मेरी खुशी ही उसके, I will call it as emotional dependence. Maybe not physical dependence, emotional dependence. Okay? Komal, are you there with me?
Yes, yes, very much.
Yeah, you can see that I may lose my emotional dependence. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I will lose my weakness of my mind. Weakness of mind is getting emotionally dependent. Eh? And then I can become very restless. No, so I lose my restlessness. उधर हमको peace मिला, इधर restlessness गया.
And I lose my status of upadhi. Status of upadhi.
Not necessarily. We are not looking at upadhi at the moment, no? We are looking at necessities which, you know, the things that we use in our life. I'm looking at the things that I'm using in my life. Because asakti we took as excessive attachment, absence of attachments towards the necessities that we use. You know, the various things that we use in our life. Eh?
We are using status also.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. We're still, we are not talking about a Gnani, which is at value stage, at sadhana stage. It is at where, you know, we are still doing sadhana. We have still not got the knowledge. Upadhi status, firstly, the upadhi never goes. So you never lose your upadhi. Until you die, the upadhi is going to be there. Number one. Your ownership over the upadhi you will lose when you're a Gnani. But we are not a Gnani here. Yeah? At this point. Okay. What do I gain when I don't follow asakti? Same thing as what do I lose here? I will gain raga dvesha. Why we put it like this? So that it becomes very firm in our head. On one side, when I fall asakti, I lose raga dvesha. On the other side, if I don't fall asakti, I gain raga dvesha. Fat baith gaya. Okay? So that's why these 4 questions are useful. That's all. Then what else will I gain? I'll gain emotional dependence. Emotional dependence means I feel. What does emotional dependence mean? I feel like I am losing something. I feel that, you know, my well-being depends upon that. Right? So when my well-being depends upon something, my sense of well-being for me depends on something else, then that is called as emotional dependence or attachment. Another word for attachment is emotional dependence. I feel emotional dependence is a better word because it is more descriptive, you know. Okay. And what will I gain by not following asakti? I will get weakness of mind. I will be weak. Weak in mind. I'll gain what? Restlessness. Same things which are here, right? And I will gain what he said, False pride. That was a very good one, Arora uncle.
Mm.
Why is it false?
This self-conceit
No,
is
why,
not
why are
actually,
we calling it false pride? After all, मेरा वस्तु है, मैंने washing machine ली है.
it's not real. I am not the owner. I am only the user. I am
Exactly.
the only
The user.
user
Correct. I'm the trustee.
given by God.
Given by God. Okay. And what do I lose by not following asakti? I lose my why. I lose my vairagyam. Same thing as gaining emotional dependence. What do I lose? I lose vairagyam. I lose peace.
And inner strength.
I lose strength. Inner strength. Yeah. Okay. I lose independence, which is the same as vairagyam actually. Independence. Okay. Now we come to the next one. This can be a little bit okay. Asakti we did. Okay. Let's come here. Okay. Now comes the next one. Anabhishvanga putradara grihadishu. Anabhishvanga means absence of being excessively attached to putra, to one's son, to one's spouse. Dara actually means wife. But here, since we have ladies are also listening, so to one's spouse and to things like one's house, relatives, friends, etc. So we saw that it's possible to remain, independent emotionally from non-living things, right? We saw that. But what about, people who are close to us? Like our spouse, children, brothers and sisters, relatives, parents, etc. How can we have such, how can we have this independence, emotional independence from them? Iti. This is what this value is saying. Anabhishvanga putradara grihadishu. So, Anabhishvanga means absence of Abhishvanga. What is Abhishvanga? Abhishvanga means extreme affection, extreme attachment. And extreme attachment will be there towards whom? It will be there towards family, right? Whoever is in the family, we are bonded there. Okay, we get attached to them. We get very identified with them. Especially mothers, fathers, dono. Child becomes ill, then mother will also become ill sometimes, I'll tell you an extreme case. I know of one case where the son, who was all of 29 or 30 years old, he tried to commit suicide. Parents had gone out of town. When they came to know, and now he's admitted in hospital, when they came to know, the mother fainted. And then when finally they came back to their home state where the son was, she got so sick that she had to be hospitalized, and they were both in the same, one bed next to each other. Yeah, both were in the same, this thing. So much affected. She got very, very affected, Iti. So mothers can get ill. And then what about fathers? If son is successful, then father says, I am successful. Right? So we identify with our children. What is our identification? They are mine. Sometimes it's they are me also. They are mine.
Oh.
And so, and so we feel elated or depressed if children are successful or children are not being successful, unsuccessful. So our well-being depends upon the children's well-being. The greater the identification, the greater will be the degree of this elation and, getting dejected or feeling low when they are not doing well. So what happens is when such intense emotions are going on, then our rationality is clouded. We can't think well and we are all the time brooding about them. And this causes us a lot of unhappiness. Now, I'm not saying that having affection for wife, for children, taking care of them from the heart, none of that is wrong. In fact, it is our dharma. No, it is the dharma of Grihastha Ashrama. And everyone needs affection and care. Who doesn't need it? So and what about children? When children get the affection of their parents, they're getting nourished. Children feel very nourished and it's very important for their development. Iti. And at the same time, parents can also enjoy watching how the children are developing. So it's a mutual, it's a happiness from both sides. So this type of relationship is a healthy relationship, which is giving happiness on both sides. Iti. But when it becomes excessive affection, then what happens? It can become a burden because possessiveness, all kinds of things will come in, and it can become very suffocating for the recipient of that affection. Mother becomes so identified with the child that mother is worrying all the time about the child. Child went out, will the child come back? Kya hoga? Accident to nahi hua? Itana der kyun hua? Unko kya ho gaya? Right? The child is in another state or another country. Lot of worry. So parents get worried for one reason or the other. And sometimes when there is too much of affection, suffocating affection, it affects the child's capacity to take initiative. It affects the child's independence because parents want to protect the child all the time. And so the child is discouraged from taking any initiative, right? And all the decisions are taken by the parents. And so the child is suffocated in flow of excessive affection. And because of this, the child's capacity to take initiative wo bhi khatam ho jati hai. Independent decision making becomes difficult. That power only doesn't develop. Or the child starts rebelling against these overprotective parents. Then when the child sees that these parents are very worried about him, then he can feel guilty. Ki no, I am the cause of the worry. Iti. Or the child can rebel. No? Might end up disrespecting their feelings. Ki, nahi, leave me alone. The children may say that. Ki, nahi, mera picha kyun kar raha hai? Leave me alone. So excessive affection can always be, it doesn't help anybody. It can get you into trouble. It's true. There should be affection for wife, spouse, children, friends, relatives, because bonding is there, care is exchanged between. But only we are talking about when it becomes excessive and it becomes suffocating. Right? Okay. Now, when there is attachment or emotional dependence, that's a better word, then we need to understand that there is need. What kind of needs are there? Need for sense of security, need for belonging. Many people have this need. They need to belong. Kisi ka hoon. I belong to somebody. Kisi ka hoon. So you need to belong. There could be need for sense of adequacy. This is a tough one, if one spouse is having this very desperate need for adequacy, to unka all the time वाह karna padta hai. I had, one auntie like this in our house, in our distant auntie. So her husband used to come, they would come in the car. The husband will come running into the house and he will say, please, aaj iska prashansa karna. Tell her she's looking very beautiful. Please tell her, all nice things about her. Otherwise, my life will be hell. So then accordingly, as soon as she will come, immediately all of us will tell, Auntie, you're looking so beautiful. You're looking mild. Look at your skin. Even at this age, it is so wonderful and all that. We used to say, because this lady had this terrific need for being approved. Not only by her husband, by everybody else also. Kisi ke paas gaya, to they have to do wah for her. Eh? So sense of adequacy, So some people have a terrific need for being approved. So then whoever will approve you, you will get attached to that person. Iti. And of course, there are many who want to feel powerful. So all these needs, when they are fulfilled, they can cause this kind of attachment. And where the need is very severe, and somebody is fulfilling it, then the attachment also becomes severe. And then what happened? Need mein se kya hoti hai? Demands and conditions come on the relationship. When the demand is fulfilled, with this feeling of, I'm accepted, I belong, I'm something, मैं कोई हूँ. Okay. And when the demand is not fulfilled, person feels rejected, dejected. Okay. Depression में चला जाएगा. Iti. So there's a lot of control in the dynamics of, okay. When there is attachment, there is a lot of control in the relationship. Lot of trying to control, wanting the other person to behave according to your wishes. Anyway, I'm not going to say, but Swamiji used to make so many jokes about this. Eh? He would say, after so many years of marriage, they still want to change each other. There's no understanding. Eh? So anyway, so in time, what happens? There's a lot of conflict in the relationship. And naturally, when conflict is there, it is dukhdai. Yeah, the relationship becomes gives you dukkha. Iti. Now, it's only human to have certain expectations in relationship. But expectations that get out of hand, they can be very toxic. Iti. Constant needing to be approved, constant bickering, constantly, feeling unfulfilled. All this can lead to resentment on the side of one of the parties, and it makes the relationship go downhill. Now, if one is married, then basic things you can expect from your partner. This include naturally basic respect, understanding, emotional support, patience. These are fundamental needs, right? That couples hopefully will be fulfilling for each other. And it's not wrong to expect them in a committed relationship. Sometimes what happens, couples will focus on only the negative, making it a point to criticize all the time. I have seen, this happening, and then the whole relationship goes downhill. These relationships are very painful. Now, what happens if the couple, if out of them, one of them has enough punya, the person will come for satsang, right? Because now the biggest wish is, I want to be free. So in a way, it turns out good also, because when you come for satsang, this is one wish which can be fulfilled. We say, other than this, only the wish for food can be fulfilled. Kisine hame khana diya. At one point, you will say, Alam, I don't want more. It's enough. The other wish which can be totally fulfilled is the wish to recognize your freedom. That wish also can be fulfilled because it's true. If it were not true, it can't be fulfilled. But since it's true, it can be fulfilled. So the person is lucky if they come to satsang. Anybody who comes to satsang is blessed. It is. Now, when there is genuine affection as against this need-based, this thing, then there is willingness to give, okay, rather than only to receive. Some relationships, it's only I want to receive, right? But there's willingness to give. So Pujya Swamiji says, as a sadhaka, we can develop the attitude of dispassionate caring. Hey Narayan, what is this? Dispassionate caring. Okay. Earlier under Asakti, we saw that we really don't own anything or anybody. We cannot lay a total claim on anybody. So if we truly understand this, what we can have is this attitude of dispassionate caring. That means freedom from excessive attachment. What is the problem with attachment? Keeps us very dependent. I give my power to the other person, you know. We give it to somebody else. Then their moods will dictate how I feel. Iti. So to the extent we are free from that, to that extent we are free. So this was Anabhishvanga. Freedom from excessive attachment. You're not, okay, it's just excessive attachment. Now we come to the 4 questions. How do I get out of this? Okay. End show. If I say end show, what will happen? Yeah. Oh no. It says, okay, end show. 4 questions. Chalo, fat. There's a lot to say in the next one. What will I gain? I will give the first one. Objectivity. Why do I say objectivity?
Because everything belongs to God.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Yeah. And I don't do a value addition. Objectivity means seeing things as they are. Means we don't do a value addition on anything. We don't see it as more than what it is, as capable of giving me more than what it can. Yeah? So whenever there are a lot of expectations, then maybe we are seeing more than what is there, what the person is capable of giving. Huh? Okay. So other thing I will have is emotional independence, same as objectivity. But this is a better word because you can understand it well. Emotional, not dependence, independence. See? What does emotional independence mean? It's a very important word. Huh? Oops. What does emotional independence mean? Just conceptually, huh? Maybe we are not there yet. It's okay. But conceptually, what does it mean?
Realizing that everything belongs to God, we can say that we are not dependent on anything.
Yeah.
It is God.
Yeah. Emotional independence is correct. Emotional independence is being free from
Ownership.
one is ownership, being free from dependence on others for one's sense of well-being.
Correct.
Yeah. So then the person is, that means you have not given your power away to the others. You are able to feel good about yourself, even if they are having a mood. Somebody is, you know, having a mood, eh? And then you feel bad when they are having the mood. So emotional independence means you are able to, it's not an easy thing, you know, it's something one has to really look into. Yeah. Okay. And
Freedom from
you may
freedom
get
from
good
possess
relationships, huh?
freedom from possessiveness.
Freedom from possessiveness. Okay. Maybe you may get good relationships. It may not also. If one person is very possessive and you are emotionally independent, that person gets very upset. Eh? So you will have to pretend that thoda pretension karna padega. Acting thodi si karni padegi. Na? Out of care. Not out of this thing, out of care. So that they don't feel too bad. No? Because if the other person is very possessive and you have become, emotionally independent, so then they can sense it. That this person is now, emotionally independent. Then they feel very bad. Huh? So I've written
And
good relationships, maybe if both are on the same page. Okay.
gain capacity to take initiative.
Peace of mind. And because you have peace of mind, you can focus on Vedanta. Yeah, initiative here is not so important. I'm not looking at it as a very important point. That was only to show you the problem of excessive affection towards children. Taking initiative is not a big this thing. You should take initiative to study Vedanta. Yes. That much. That's the only point of taking initiative, not to be superhero or something. Eh? What do I lose by following this Anabhishvanga? I will not be suffocated even if the other person is trying to suffocate me. What do I lose? Being suffocated. And I will not
Right of
suffocate
property.
others. Will not
Absolute,
suffocate others.
absolute right on property.
Huh?
Absolute right on property. Graha.
Ah, okay. Will not suffocate others. I will not claim I will not claim that I am the owner. For vyavaharik purposes, your right on property will continues to be there. But inside your head, okay, you are a trustee. So I'm hesitating to put that lose right of property. I'm not writing that because it gives a wrong sense. We can say, what do I lose? Sense of ownership. Okay.
I lose need for praise. Need for praise. Need for praise. Praise.
I lose need for praise. Yeah. I think will not suffocate others mein wo aa gaya, eh? Need for praise. Okay. That various needs are there, no? Need for security, need for praise, need for adequacy. In all those areas, I become very strong because I have a strong sense of self. And so I will approve myself. It just means that I will approve myself. Eh? Strong sense of your own being is there. Eh? So in fact, I can write that here.
Self-approval.
Yeah, self-approval. Yeah, will be there. Otherwise, very difficult. This won't be possible. Eh? What do I gain by not following? I'll gain conflict. I'll gain suffocation. And I may suffocate others also. Eh? It goes both ways, no? I may be the one who is very possessive, may suffocate others.
Will need praise.
Hate others. Need constant,
Praise.
what do you say? A patting on the back. Eh? Need constant.
Praise.
Approval.
This is what is called as a high maintenance person. In English, they have a word for it, you know. You become a high maintenance person. Need constant nourishment. Nourishment is a nice word. I'm being very kind. Huh? Then what will I gain? I will gain excessive attachment. In fact, excessive attachment is what I gain, and suffocation and suffocating others is the result of the attachment. Eh? Not only that, I will be distracted. I will gain lot of distraction. What will I lose? All this on this side, you know. I can I can just copy then paste that, but I'm not doing that. Eh? I will lose my objectivity. I will lose my emotional independence. Losing emotional independence is the same as giving power to the other. Yeah, what is my power? I give away to others. Eh? Emotional independence. That comes because of the need. I may lose harmonious relationships. I may lose having a focused mind. Okay? Okay, now I want to move to the next one because I don't have much time for that. Okay. So this is called Nityam cha Samachittatvam Ishta Anishta Upapattishu, which means equanimity of mind, even-mindedness, Nityam, constantly. Even when favorable and unfavorable things occur. Okay? In the face of something desirable or undesirable, I manage to keep Samachittatvam. I manage to keep my balance of mind. Now, Gita places a great value on this. Samatvam. What we did already in Gita, Samatvam, on equanimity of mind in the face of different circumstances. When there is equanimity, there is objectivity, right? There is dispassion, there is vairagyam. And both this quality of objectivity of vairagyam is very necessary for this pursuit of self-knowledge, right? So, in life, you know, situations keep changing. Sometimes what we want, it happens. And many times what we don't want, that only happens. So as a sadhaka, how should I receive these different types of situations? So Gita says, every situation is nothing but a karma phala. First, okay, all situations are karma phala. They are the result of some action you did, now or earlier. So all karma phala, whether it is favorable or it is unfavorable, you receive it with samatvam. That is Gita's primary message. पर ये तो होता नहीं है. Not possible. Usually what happens is, result is favorable, we jump with joy. Result is unfavorable, we get depressed, we get dejected, we feel low. Iti. What does this actually mean? This means that the external situation decides the state of my mind, not me. Such a mind is not objective. And therefore, Gita strictly says, not eligible for Atma Jnana. A reactive mind, right? We want a proactive mind, not a reactive mind. Because if the mind is reactive, knowledge will not stay in that mind. We may get some insight, but knowledge will not stay over there. So for the seeker, it's very important to be objective. There's another point that came up, but it's gone off from my mind. The external situation decides the state of my mind, not me. Okay, it will come back. So now, let's analyze our assumption. What is the assumption that most of us make? That situations, people, things, they create the feelings of happiness or dissatisfaction. This is a basic belief that most of us have. But we will question it and say, is it really so? If that were true, then situations, people, things should be able to bring about the same happiness or dissatisfaction for everybody. Right? If I'm actually getting joy from the gulab jamun, if gulab jamun has got joy sitting inside it, then anybody who eats gulab jamun should get the same joy. Iti. And if lizard gives me dissatisfaction, then lizard should give dissatisfaction to everybody. It looks like it should, but it doesn't. Iti. Again, the same situation or person or thing in me only, it gives me different reactions at different times. So one is that the same situation, person or thing creates different reactions in different people. And the other is the same situation, person, thing. In myself alone, it can give me a different reaction at different times. Because this was important, I put it up, Yeah. Okay, so whatever I said over here, does happiness or dissatisfaction belong to the object of experience? We are experiencing something that becomes the object of our experience. If I'm experiencing gulab jamun, then that is the object of my experience. If I'm experiencing lizard, then that is the object of my experience. The question is, does happiness or dissatisfaction belong to the object of experience? So the argument is, if this is true, then the object of experience should give the same happiness or dissatisfaction to everybody. And it should always give the same happiness or dissatisfaction to me if I'm this thing, every time it is experienced. But this is not so. Yeah. Supposing there are some students who have passed an examination. The experience is passing the exam. Now, some get very happy when they get 40% marks because they were expecting 20%, they were expecting they would fail. This fellow got 40%. He is on, top of the world. Other fellow is there, he was expecting 70%, but he got 40. Right? And he is very disappointed. Experience is the same, passing the examination. They have all passed the examination with 40%. Some are happy, some are sad. Then, supposing Komal wore a dress yesterday, which she liked very much. For no reason at all, today she may dislike it. That's the human mind. We are like that. Or some young person wore a dress and then somebody just told her it's out of, she loves that dress. Somebody said, क्या पहना है यार, ये इसमें कोई fashion ही नहीं है. ऐसे बोल दिया, then that kid begins to hate the dress. She loved it the day before and the next day she hates it. Iti. So that means that there is something in my mind because of which these feelings of happiness and dissatisfaction arise. And that is what Gita is pointing out, that something in my mind is the impression of likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha, situations, people, right? Even things. They seem to make me happy or dissatisfied because raga dvesha is present. Binding raga dvesha. Only if this is there, I can be happy. That is what it means, binding. Yeah. So, because of binding raga dvesha, I unconsciously give the power to external situations to create feelings of happiness or dejection in me. If there was no binding raga dvesha, then external situation would not have the power to create this kind of happiness or dissatisfaction in me. So, yeah. Wait, what happened? We went. Okay. I think this is the one. Yeah, but this is not. So we saw this one, right? Because, I'm not able to see because, okay, I put you all on top, so I'm not able to see the screen. So when I enjoy a state of mind that is free of this binding ragadvesha, not preferences, but the kind of ragadvesha in which I say, without this, I won't be happy. If I've got a state of mind which is free of these binding ragadveshas, then I can enjoy this samatvam, this equanimity of mind. So when there is freedom from this binding ragadvesha, then what happens? I don't project happiness or disappointment on anything, right? I have the ability to understand and accept situations as they are, which is what samatvam is. Samatvam is the capacity to accept and then take action if necessary. But the initial reaction is acceptance. Then there is objectivity. And objectivity is very much required to be able to see what the truth is. That's why this value of samatvam is again included here. Chapter 2 or chapter 3 mein to iski bahut bola. And again, in chapter 13, we are looking, Bhagwan has put this value here because it's a very important for Atma Jnanam. Yeah. And we saw, Bhagwan says in 3rd chapter, Indriyasyendriyasyate ragadvesho vyavastitau tayor navashama gachet tau hyasya paripanthinau. Bhagwan is telling us there very clearly, stay away from raga dvesha because they are your enemies. We are all born with raga dvesha. Really, we come from previous life itself. We come because of raga dvesha only we are born. And then we have these 5 sense organs and each organ has got its object. And towards each of the objects of each of the sense organs, we can develop this raga dvesha, right? So, our sense organs have got a love-hate relationship with their objects. Ear likes certain sounds, doesn't like others. Skin likes certain forms of touch and not others. Talking about touch, I'm going to digress a little bit. Something very important I thought I'll share with you. Nice, it's very very useful to learn this. Maybe someday I'll teach you all this. I don't know it much myself, but the little that I've used is very useful. That is, there are neuroperceptors in our hands, okay, very light touch of the hands, in our arms from the shoulders down to the elbow, when we do stroke like that, gentle stroke. When we stroke our cheek like this, very gentle, it's a gentle touch. You can try it. And when you stroke your forehead, there are neuroperceptors in these areas which generate what is called as delta brain waves. And these delta brain waves calm down the amygdala, which is the center in the brain, the old reptilian brain, which is responsible for the survival mechanism in the body. It will immediately alert you if there's a danger. Or so it is responsible for bringing up the cortisol also in the body. So anytime you're feeling scared or you're feeling, any kind of difficult emotion, you can try this. Just do this, okay? Yeah, it's so nice, feels good, It's a good, feel-good feeling. Or you can just do lightly. Even if you're having a fight with somebody, you do this lightly, you will calm down immediately. And what people do is, it's called as havening technique. Like EFT, what it does is, you'll use it along with breath work and counting or visualization to neutralize the charge which is there in a negative memory, so that you get free from it completely. It's a beautiful thing, The sense of touch is such a God-given thing by God. Anyway, I'm getting off that topic. Someday I will. If you are there on my childhood trauma, this thing, no, I've shared a video on that today. So now coming back to our mind, okay? Our mind entertains this raga dvesha with reference to our feelings. I don't like this emotion. I don't like that emotion. I don't like this. I don't like that. And our intellect has got raga dvesha with reference to thoughts. And so we find ourselves as human beings always having raga dvesha with reference to people, situations, things. Okay? Always it will be there. And for some things, we have got neutral. Ki na, isse hame kuch nahi hota hai. We are neutral towards it. We don't feel anything towards it. But we have got such a changing mind that jiske prati main neutral hu, uske prati bhi tomorrow I may not be neutral anymore. Tomorrow I may start disliking or I may start liking. This is this. So there's no certainty about what I will like or what I will dislike. Because what I will like now, I may dislike next moment. What I dislike now, I may like it next moment. Right? Something can be very dear to me just now. Tomorrow I'll say, no, it's not dear to me. Okay. So this goes to show that it is not the nature of the object that is creating this likes and dislikes towards it. It is the nature of my own mind that is responsible for it. You'll say, why do I like something? I do. Why pucho mat? I like it. Why do I like rasgulla? You don't like it. I like it. Okay. So we have a wavering mind with wavering raga dveshas. Now comes all the bhashan, okay? So why is the mind prone to think of something as favorable, something as unfavorable? If you think of something as favorable, we get raga towards it. If we think of it as unfavorable, we get dvesha towards it, right? So Vedanta offers answer that the primary cause is that we are ignorant of the nature of the self being Purna. And because of that ignorance, there is identification with this upadhi. At that time, it is not upadhi for us. It is I. I don't call it upadhi. I call it I. Okay. But the fact remains that this body, mind, sense complex, I'm calling it I. But the fact remains that it is only an upadhi. It is an instrument with which I will transact with the world. Just as I will transact with the world with my spectacles. Spectacles are an instrument for me to be able to see you better. In the same way, this body mind is an upadhi, which I use to transact with the world. Okay. So the upadhi is an instrument. It is not I. Okay. It is an instrument for I. It is not I. And the upadhi is incomplete. It is apurna. Apurna in space, apurna in time, apurna in object. When I say apurna in object, it means this upadhi is not komal upadhi. This upadhi is not shabby upadhi. So it is limited, right? In that sense, it is limited. Okay. It is dependent on so many factors. And it is illumined and enlivened in the presence of the real I, which is self-evident, independent, infinite consciousness. And what happens because of ignorance? This ever-present, infinite, all-pervading true I is mistaken to be the upadhi. And believing this identification to be oneself, it creates the sense of insecurity, because body is insecure, and because then there's a feeling of limitation and there is suffering. And once there is this feeling of suffering, there is desire to be free from it. So, due to ignorance, okay, I think I have one more slide. I is taken to be Purna, insecure and unhappy. Yeah, right. Okay. And then what happens? Not only am I unhappy, I project happiness. I've not made that extra slide, you know. I should have done that. Okay. Yeah, this is the slide which I need. Okay. Okay. So there is identification with the body-mind upadhi. It is taken as I. Consequently, there is a sense of being apurna, insecure, unhappy. We don't stop there. Now we are looking for happiness because we think, you know, we are not happy. Then what happens? The happiness is projected on external objects of experience. Okay. So we are born with this natural tendency to label things as favorable and unfavorable and to develop raga dvesha for them or to be neutral to them. So what happens is our relationship with the world, what is happening in our relationship with the world? It is through this superimposition that we are doing of favorable, unfavorable, neutral. Constantly I'm doing this. Favorable, unfavorable, neutral. What about the fact? The fact is things are just what they are. This pair of specs are a pair of specs. Okay. This scissor is a scissor. A rock is a rock. A person is who or she is. But what happens? We rarely see the world as it is. We see it from our point of view of whether it is favorable to us, unfavorable to us, or whether we are neutral towards it. So we are constantly superimposing, okay, on the world a quality that the world itself doesn't have. It's here, not there. Yeah? Rock is only a rock. And I am superimposing on it my like or my dislike or my indifference. Having said that, it is true that some substances by nature are good for us and some are detrimental. If it is detrimental, keep away from it. If alcohol is detrimental to you, keep away from it. If drugs are detrimental, you keep away from it. It does not mean that you have to develop a hatred or a dislike. Your objective, yes, this is not helpful, I don't need it. But there's no need to entertain a dislike or a hatred towards it, no? If it's good for you, then by all means have it. But there's no need to develop a raga or a craving for it. Iti. In the same way, some people are inspiring. Some are toxic. So we can go towards inspiring people, stay away from toxic people, if it is possible. Okay. So when there is equanimity of mind, because that's our topic, we do not develop attachment or aversion for people or things. We see things as they are. Okay. When you see things as they are, there is Samatvam. So equanimity of mind is there when there is objectivity. Of course, that means being free of craving and anger and etc. etc. So when there is Samatvam, one is wise, not impulsive. One is able to calmly consider the pros and cons of a situation, of a person, of the object, and they take a wise decision which is beneficial to all. Sometimes the decision can be a very tough one, but there's no malice, no, there's no attachment also. So Gita is a moksha shastra. And the first level of moksha is moksha from ragadvesha. And all that arises from this ragadvesha. And when there is freedom from being under the spell of ragadvesha, then there is samatvam. Can you see, how Gita goes straight for the jugular vein, of the human being. Eh? So to be free from ragadvesha, what does Krishna say? Karma yoga. Karma yoga means performing action with certain understanding of Ishvara. There's no karma yoga without Ishvara. And the attitudes that are going to arise from that understanding. So what we want here when we are talking about Samatvam is to recognize that Ishvara is the common denominator, the one who is equally present in our whole world of diversity and heterogeneity. See, it's like our body is made of various parts, right? Each part is different from the other parts. There's no similarity anywhere. Name, form, and function of each organ is different from name, form, and function of other organs. Yet, it is one I, Atma, who is in and through all the parts, connecting them all as it were. All the parts exist for the sake of I, Atma, and they work together as a team to support this I, right? To support all the needs, to make sure that the needs of I are taken care of. Similarly, Ishvara is the one who manifests the universe, who enlivens it too. And so, when there is an understanding of Ishvara as the abhinna nimitta upadana karanam, as the one who is in the form of the universe, who is in the form of all the laws of cause and effect that constitute the order which is in the universe, we call it as the grand order, Mahaniyati. When that is assimilated thoroughly, not an easy thing to assimilate, but assimilated thoroughly, then there is Samatvam. The equilibrium, the equanimity of mind, it stays with us. Otherwise, we do have equilibrium here and there, but it will stay with us. So, Lord Krishna points out, this is a very beautiful verse, I think I'll have to go back. I think I went. No, this was that once. Okay. Matta parataram nanya kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam protam sutre manigana iva. It's a beautiful verse, where Lord Krishna is pointing out that just as all the beads are threaded in one thread to make a necklace, so too the various seemingly diverse parts of the universe, all of them are threaded in Ishvara. No? So it is Ishvara's presence that brings order in the universe. And Ishvara alone is the karma phala data, the one from whom we are receiving the result of action. Now, results are keeping with our action. But remember, our action includes past action. Maybe actions in previous births also. Okay? So the laws are taking into account so many variables that we don't know anything about. I remember when the Bhopal accident happened, I was very upset. I went to Swami V and I was telling him, what God? You're always saying God is Suhrud and all. What God? What is this? What is great Suhrud about this? That this has happened. I was very annoyed. Eh? Then Swamiji just looked me in the eye, and that quelled me completely. He just said, what do you really know about what is the cause and effect relationship here? When a cosmic event like this happens, when a big event like this, a collective, where collectively people are hurt, what do you know about what? Do you know what the past history of all the people concerned is? Do you know all that? And so then I realized what he was saying, Anyway, we all did prayers at that time, I remember. So results are in keeping with the actions, which include our past actions and include past actions of everything. So everything is as it is meant to be. It's very not easy to accept this. But at least this much we know that Ishvara is Purna. And so being Purna, Ishvara is not somebody who takes Pakshapad. He's Purna. So Gita calls Ishvara as Suhrud, the one who is the well-wisher of all. Right? He's the well-wisher. So this way, when one's attention is focused on what is equally present in all, which is Ishvara, then Samatvam is possible, Prasada Buddhi is possible. So when Karma Phala comes, it comes from Ishvara, and therefore it can be looked as Ishvara's grace. Ishvara's grace. Every situation we are confronted with is the result of our karma. As I said, previous life karma is also there. Keeping that in mind, situation can be looked at as a blessing, a grace. Good, bad, favorable, unfavorable, whatever happens, this is Uch Koti ka Karma Yogi. Okay? He thinks it is Ishvara's prasad, it's Ishvara's grace. So what we call as favorable is Ishvara's direct grace, and what we call as unfavorable is Ishvara's grace, but it is indirect grace because we don't feel it as grace. So many things to assimilate. Ishvara is Purna. Number one, Ishvara includes everything. Everything is included in Ishvara. Therefore, Ishvara is the Suhrud, the well-wisher of all. Because he's the well-wisher of all. Okay? And Ishvara's laws are taking into account countless variables. We don't know anything about it. Our karma phala is coming from these laws. But we have take it that it's coming from Ishvara, who's Purna and who is Suhrud. And therefore, these laws are just and fair. They're taking into account every variable. Our past life karma, dusron ki past life karma. So if we have this kind of Shraddha in Ishvara, then even adverse circumstances can be accepted as Ishvara's grace. This is where we can go towards. We may not have it with us right now, but slowly, as the sattva improves, we may be able to see it. So when life is understood as meant for growing in inner strength and in resilience, discovering truth, then we can fully trust Ishvara that whatever is there, favorable or unfavorable, is ultimately for my own good. So, last time I had said that I would record for you the remaining part of the lecture, and I did not do it. Today I was looking for it on YouTube and I found that it was not there. So I realized that this is remaining to be done. So let me go back and share the screen. Yeah. So this is where we had stopped, where we looked at the fact that the Shraddha, that whatever Hari will do is for my good. And this kind of Shraddha, it helps us to accept very difficult and painful situations, helps us to maintain our equanimity, right? Helps us to maintain Samatva Buddhi. So Puja Swamiji would recount a story about a philosopher. You would all have read about that in the book, on emotional maturity. So we've modified the story slightly. There was a philosopher and he was waiting for his ship, which was carrying his wife, his children, and all household goods, to arrive. And suddenly there was a knock on the door. And when he opened the door, the philosopher saw a man with a worried face standing there. Let me see if I can move this and talk to myself. Okay, yeah. There was a worried face standing there. And it looked like that this person was going to give some bad news. And so this man, he said, "Sir, the ship in which your family was coming, the whole ship along with the family and your property, it has got sunk." And this man said, "What?" "Yes, sir, the ship has sunk." And he was a philosopher. He said, "Hari Ichha." "But sir, all your property is gone. Nothing came in hand." "What?" "Yes, sir, you've become a beggar." Hari Ichha. "But sir, your wife and children, they also drowned in that ship." "What?" "Yes, sir, you're all alone." And this man said, "Hari Ichha." So each time that the philosopher said, "What?" it's not because he did not hear the news or he didn't understand it. He had heard it rightly and he had understood rightly. But still he said, "What?" because the messenger's message was not acceptable to him. But he was a philosopher, and that's why he did not hold on to that non-acceptance of the news. He thought, if the ship has sunk, then it must be Hari Ichha. I can't do anything about it. I'm poor now. Hari Ichha. I earned money. I also lost the money. Okay, now I'll earn money again. My wife and kids have all gone. Grief, despair is not going to bring them back. Hari Ichha. It is a fact that they are gone. I am here. This is also a reality. I can understand these facts. And that's why I will do what has to be done in this situation. And so this philosopher was able to accept. So accepting favorable and unfavorable situations gracefully, with understanding it as Ishvara's will, this is what is called as prasada buddhi. And what is the benefit of this prasada buddhi? It makes one strong and resilient. So, accepting even unfavorable situations without protest, without complaint, trying to stop the share. Okay. So without protest, without complaint, without crying all the time, it does not mean being passive and tolerating it in silence. So acceptance of circumstances is born of understanding that Ishvara is the giver of karma phala. That's why there's no reaction towards the situation or towards the person. Even if there is some reaction, it quickly subsides. So the situation and the result are not evaluated as success or failure. So there's no pride in success and disappointment in failure. All these are, the benefits of Samatvam. So there is Samatvam in the face of Sukha Dukkha, and the person is able to respond appropriately to situations. So maintaining Samatvam by freeing oneself of the hold of Ragadvesha, this is an Adhyatmika sadhana, a spiritual sadhana. It is based on understanding the nature of Ishvara to be the creator, the karma phala data, the one who is Suhrud, the well-wisher of all. Since Ishvara and Ishvara's laws determine every situation in the universe, every situation, it is as it is meant to be, and so one can accept it. This is prasada buddhi. Now, what happens whenever we see disorder, sorrow, injustice? Really speaking, it is a creation of human beings, because in ignorance of their true nature, they are driven by selfishness, insecurity, greed, and their own hardened likes and dislikes. And because of this, human beings cause harm to others and to themselves. So when we look back at our life, we will find that the emotional pain in our life is usually because of our or others' unworthy actions, either in the present or in the past. And the suffering in our life draws our attention to some unworthy action. So what can we do? We can prayerfully allow ourselves to heal from that suffering. When punya is sufficient, our sufferings draw us towards satsang. In satsang, we learn about Ishvara's nature. We strengthen our Shraddha in Ishvara, being Suhrud. And then we are able to settle our accounts with Ishvara. And as our Shraddha in Ishvara strengthens, we are able to maintain Samatvam or Prasada Buddhi. We are able to quickly come to Samatvam even in painful situations. So Samatvam helps us to see Ishvara's creation as it is. Ishvara being the material cause of the universe, Ishvara is in the very form of the universe. And we cannot separate Ishvara from the universe. So that's why we say Jagat Darshana is Ishvara Darshana. And assimilating all these facts brings about the Samatvam. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.